So we are starting our new unit, and it is in measurements. So for the first one, we're using units of length, meaning we're talking about how to measure things in terms of how long they are. When we're measuring, we use a foot. 1 foot is 12 inches. We use a yard. A yard is 36 inches or 3 feet. We use a mile. A mile is 5,280 feet or 1,760 yards. Please also notice my abbreviations. That's how you will always see them from now on. A foot, FT. Inches, IN. Yard, YD. Mile, MI. Now, when I'm thinking about things that I'm going to be comparing, if I have a foot, if I'm measuring something about a foot, what's something that I would measure talking about in feet?
Like a shoebox?
Maybe a shoebox. A shoebox would be about 1 foot long. What else?
Length of a bike?
A length of a bike would be about 1 foot.
No, sorry.
Look at the rulers on your table. Everybody should have a ruler on your table. Hold it up. That is 1 foot. Your book, your journal, your computer, that's all around 1 foot. Those could all be measured in 1 foot, or they could be measured in inches because they're a little bit smaller. Now, a yard. What's something that I would measure in a yard? Something, the length of something, that would be a yard.
Maybe a guitar?
A guitar? A yard is 3 feet. So look at my guitar.
Nope. Way longer than a yard.
I mean, it might come close to it, but if I were to actually measure my guitar, it's actually,
It's really close. Yeah, it's close.
it is almost exactly a yard. Usually if it's exactly at one thing, I would probably measure this in feet. A yard, you could measure,
You could probably measure a cabinet, like the length of a cabinet.
okay, the height of the cabinet might be like 2.5 yards.
What about
We could also measure that in feet. We could measure the height of the wall in yards.
a counter?
The counter, guys, we could measure this hallway in yards. Usually when I think of yards, we think bigger in yards. A football field is measured in yards, right? Like they literally do football. First down, second down, at the 10-yard line, they measure that in yards.
Could you do like ribbons?
When you have ribbon, yes, that is measured in yards. When I'm getting fabric, if I'm going to sew, I usually need 2 or 3 yards of fabric to make an outfit. What about miles? What am I measuring in miles?
Like a city.
Like how wide a city is. It's 15 miles wide.
Maybe like a highway.
Or a highway.
Yeah.
A living room is not measured in miles.
That's like feet.
The only thing that is measured in miles is going from one city to another kind of a thing. Like from here to the cotton gin. It's about 50 miles.
It's like using a GPS unless it's just like.
Right. It tells you from here to my house, it's 1.5 miles. Thank you. From here to my old house, more like 5 miles. From here to like my really old house, 20 miles.
Oh my gosh.
Like from here to Cinco Ranch, about 20 miles. So usually miles are measured when we're traveling from one city to another. Yards would be a hallway or something that's pretty long but not like Houston to Dallas long. Like the football field, a soccer field.
What about are we also going to do meters?
Not yet. So if I'm looking at, here's like a CD case. What am I measuring a CD case with? Inches. That thing's small. You probably don't see CD cases very much anymore. That was more my generation, but you know, whatever. A room, a bedroom, like this classroom, what would I measure that in?
Yards.
Yeah, it can be measured in yards. It could also be measured in feet. People tend to remember feet more than they do yards.
Yeah.
It's kind of easier for you to gauge. Okay, so that's about a foot. So if this is like 20 feet, okay, I can kind of get an idea that's a lot. Whereas if someone say, well, it's 3 yards long, be like, wait, okay, so 1 yard, 3 feet, 3, 6, 9. Okay, so about 9 feet. So a lot of people still sort of mainly pay attention to a foot. Okay.